Okay, 6:45, July 11th. This is the Sutton Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, and we'll start our meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to be here, no, I don't have to.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming out on July 9th.
Okay.
It's the 11th.
The 11th.
On July 9th.
Oh.
Of the 11th. So we have a pretty short agenda, which I think is going to consist entirely of reviewing year-end transfers. And here to present those are Town Administrator Jim Smith and Town Accountant Tim Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do this every year. We've been doing it for the last 10 years I've been here and much longer with Tim. This is required to year-end transfer of all accounts so that we end in the positive on all different accounts. It's a two-step process which requires the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen to both authorize them. We are looking to transfer $72,006 to various accounts for the reasons that are explained in this spreadsheet. We're here to answer any questions that you might have.
So I could just to state the obvious, I assume is the right-hand column, which is the 2,
Okay.
is where the shortfalls were.
That's correct.
Okay. Not shortfalls, really overages,
Yes, for various reasons.
various reasons. Okay. And then,
The from are the, where we have extra money in those accounts.
okay. And are we, by one of the items in the from column is the reserve fund, are we, with $20,000 short, basically? Or?
We budget $30,000 in the reserve fund. We've spent a little bit of money in January for my pay increase.
That's right, yep.
But other than that, we haven't touched the reserve fund.
Okay. We need to, okay.
So as of right now, you have $21,540.
In the reserve fund.
Right, so I'm requesting $20,000
Okay.
from that.
All right.
What was the number? 21.5?
$21,540.
Thank you.
So under the pre-Municipal Modernization Act, there was a formula that limited it to how much we could transfer from one department to another department. The greater of 3% or $5,000. So there was a lot of times, there was a lot of 5,000 that had to go through a lot of accounts.
Mm-hmm.
They changed that, so there's no limit, so.
Okay.
They were just to pick a couple of accounts that had some good dollars amount, just what I needed to cover the deficits.
Okay. And the rest, I assume, will end up falling to free cash?
Yes.
So the two, there's 3 that are relatively sizable. Maybe we can talk about those, and they all, which is animal control, highway wages, and police wages.
Animal control is for boarding services for dogs. We've picked up a lot of dogs. The animal control officer, Dan Chauvin, has done a nice job. Unfortunately, a number of those dogs have spent the maximum amount of time in Beth Clark's location over in, was that Northbridge or Upton on the line there? And that's where that number comes from, boarding services.
Okay.
Highway wages, that's a result of Bill Maynard, Chico Maynard retiring. His buyback, his sick leave, vacation buyback was over $12,000. We had some funds in the highway to offset that. So ultimately, we're looking for $5,400 in that account. Police wages for $55,300. We had 3 officers at various times out on injured on duty, IOD. Um, One officer was out for better part of this year. He ended up going out on disability retirement, which is a process through Worcester Regional Retirement. We supported that. Unfortunately, he couldn't come back. He had a back issue. But he was a long-serving officer for the town. And ultimately, his sick leave, buyback, vacation, holiday, and comp time totaled $30,000. But he had been an officer for a lengthy period of time. He qualified for sick leave buyback. I grandfathered that out in 2008 with all unions. But we still have, Chico Maynard was one that got sick leave buyback. And there are a few officers that still were hired prior to 2008 that will get sick leave buyback. But all the new officers are not eligible for it, and we've hired a lot of new officers. We have 3 positions right now that we're looking to hire. We also had another officer go out on, left employment with the town and went to work for the DEA. Great young kid. He was also eligible for sick leave buyback. He was one of the older police officers, older tenured police officers in the town. And, great guy, good person, and we wish him well, but that was another $6,000-7,000 that hit us. So not only losing those offices and the buyback time, but also covering their shifts, overtime shifts, because we had 3 officers out at IOD at one point or another. For parts of the year, all 3 officers were out on IOD. So we had to cover all those shifts. And we generally like to keep a certain level of staff on each shift. And that's with the chief's discretion, but we don't want to leave a shift uncovered.
Okay.
So Jim, just follow up on that. Is there anyone who's on leave right now, injury on duty?
No.
Okay.
No. One retired, as I mentioned.
Yes.
The other 2 are back.
Great. Thank you.
They started on light duty and then they came back full time.
Okay.
Super.
So are we replacing the officer that terminated it, resigned? You said one went to the DEA.
Yes.
So are we replacing that officer?
Yes, we had final interviews with 2 individuals today. Hopefully one or maybe both get the final job. We have to do a background check and so forth. But we have 3 officers that 3 positions we need to hire for.
Okay, so is this like the school? Are they coming in at a lower annual salary?
Not only are they coming in at a lower salary, but they also are coming in without Quinn bill, which is a major cost to the town. New hires get a stipend for associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree. So versus Quinn bill, which is a percentage of your pay, and that goes on overtime and everything else. So it's a big savings by hiring new officers.
So when you have the double asterisk on here on the police wages, if you add those 3 numbers up, it comes to 59.3, and you're asking for 55.3. So was there some extra money that, like you did with the highway department, that you were able to use?
Typically, I mean, if you were to pull out these transfer sheets for the last 5-10 years, I'd always be making a year-end transfer from police department wages to other departments. Because there was always, for the last 3-4 years, we were down a sergeant's position. It was funded, but we didn't have that person. So there was money there, and we were using it. So again, so that money was there, we didn't use it, and then we had all these other expenditures that helped offset this a little bit. So it could have been a lot worse.
There was also a dispatcher grant that the chief is applied for and will receive. That's additional money that will offset this transfer.
Thanks.
So this year you won't have that sergeant to play with, will you? Because we've got a new
No,
sergeant.
but we fully funded it in this year's FY18 budget, so we should be okay.
Good.
The problem is we had that position unfunded for a better part of 7 or 8 years, and so we just got used to carrying it, and less went to that position until we fully funded it this year.
Tim, do we have compensated vacations or any kind of compensated absences accrued on the books?
It only shows up on the financial statement. I actually have the town's accrued vacation time, sick time. So basically, the majority of this is for those that were, had the benefit through December 31st, 2006, when town meeting froze it,
Mhm.
canceled it, it was frozen, so you didn't lose it. But we still have $423,000 of accrued sick time sitting out there.
And,
But
you know,
that's already went through a budget.
No,
It has not.
no. When
How
someone
did it get
retires,
accrued?
we have to transfer from finance reserve, do a year-end transfer, or, if we know ahead of time, we might be able to budget for it, if it's announced early enough in the budget cycle. But if it's not, we don't know when someone's all of a sudden gonna say, I'm gonna retire.
And so what typically happens is, we end up hold off on hiring a new position, when it's not a department head. Holding off on hiring a patrolman, until we save that buyback time,
Mhm.
until we have the money to then go ahead and hire a position. It is a liability. I tried to negotiate with the unions last round, and it just wasn't enough of a carrot to entice them to negotiate that out of the contracts, but right now we eat it. And we've been doing a decent job, and that liability goes down on an annual basis as Bill Maynard retires, Mark Brigham retired, and the older timers, and the unions are capped at 2008. It's grandfathered, anybody before, but anybody after.
Okay.
Do we typically go into the reserve fund?
We do, almost annually, we go into the reserve fund. Either for transfers during the year, for unforeseen issues that need funding right away, or at year end, that is a funding source. And what we don't use, as someone mentioned, falls out as free cash at year end.
And it doesn't make sense to accrue expenses annually, because it's pretty much capped off, and that number just goes down every year. In other words, on the expense side, we're not incurring new expense in excess of what we're,
For the accrued sick time,
yes,
trying to budget for it.
right.
Right now, I don't think we've had any excess revenues in order to budget for it. Jim and I did talk again today about, it's maybe 3 years old. Mass General Law allowed a compensated absences, like trust fund or reserve fund. But again, it takes money to fund that. But
Mhm.
again, something we're gonna start looking at again. If there's extra money, maybe it's time to start trying to put some money aside to help cover that, like we've done with the sped stabilization,
I have to apologize, I have to go to a
That's-
board meeting.
that's fine.
Down the hall,
Sure.
so,
I'll be right in.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So
Thanks,
it's something
Jim.
that we're gonna look at to see, is it something we can establish and maybe start putting some money aside so we don't have these.
But you said it's on the financial statements.
Yeah, on the audited financial statements, this number shows up. But that's the only place it shows up. It's not on
But how
our,
did it get there? I guess I'm trying to figure out.
oh, there's lots of
It's
things
got-
that
it's
the
gotta be-
auditors put on the financial statements that aren't.
But it's gotta be an
on the books.
offsetting expense though, right, when they accrue it.
Well, the original accrual, in the year that the accrual was put on, there was an expense, and every year, the accrual either goes up or down, and the expense either gets a debit or a credit by department, depending on, who's left, what's
So
going
the
on.
auditors are tracking the expense and the accrual. They're just not tracking it internally, it sounds like.
Well, we do because we get this.
Right,
it's-
but you don't
it's not in
adjust the
our-
accrual, so you
No.
don't hit the P and L, but they
Right.
do,
Right. Because essentially, our books are on a cash basis.
right.
The budget is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm all
Any other
set.
questions? So,
Motion to approve transfers?
Second.
a discussion, further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are unanimous, 6-0. And I believe that would be it for tonight.
Did you have to elect officers like
I,
you
let's,
said?
I was thinking about that, but I'd prefer to have a full committee to do that, just
Fine with me.
so we can share the, the-
wealth.
exactly, and that you don't get rewarded for not showing up at the meeting, so
We could nominate the people who aren't here.
that's a good point. That's a very good
You've done
point.
that before.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? We're
Aye.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
You could go.
Minutes right out.
I'll be waiting.
All right, I gotta run.
Go,
It's on
go.
demand.
It was on TV. It is? What
On
channel?
to 31.
Thank you for coming.
No problem.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Tim.
you.
Take your
Oh,
time.
I'll forget that. I mean,
I think it's 31. See if they're 30 or 31.
Are we on?